Okay, this video we will continue on the beginner's guide to SDL2 in C++. So this is the fourth video. If you are just starting out with this video, you want to go to github.com, Programming Rainbows, Beginner's Guide to SDL2 in CPP. You want to clone that repository and you want to use the source code that you'll find in the video 3 folder, and you want to copy that main.cpp file from video 3 into the source folder. So that's the source that we left off with in the last video, and you want to copy it up into the source folder so we can work on that in this video number 4. So I'll show you where we left off. So I'm compiling it. Whoops, I'm compiling the source for video number 4, not source folder. There we go. And we'll run the demo. And so right now we have this window that's open. We have, it's got a black background. It's got an image that's loaded onto it. It has a title up here called background. And we can close it if we press escape or to close. Okay, so in this video, we will be changing the background color of this video. So we're going to have to talk about a couple things here. We're going to talk about changing the render color, and we're going to talk about random numbers. Okay, so let's go check those out. So I'm just going to gloss over this real quick. We're going to come back to it, but we're going to use this SDL set render draw color to change that background color. But to do this, well, we could do this first, and then we could just see a color, and then we could talk about random color. So let's do that. So to do this, we call this function, and then we are going to actually take in the render, and we're going to use these 4 different uint8s. So these uint8s are unsigned 8-bits. So imagine that it's a 1 byte, and it's going to go from 0 to 255. So it's an unsigned 8-bit integer. This is actually defined in the SDL module, so you'll have access to this type. And we have a red, a green, a blue channel, and an alpha channel. So that does exactly what you think it does. If we turn on the red full blast to 255 and we turn everything else off, we're going to have the brightest red color we can make. And if we turn all 3 of them on, we're going to have a white color. Now the last one, the alpha channel, if we turn that off, we won't see it at all because it's going to be transparent. And if we turn it on 255, we're going to see it completely. So for our purposes, the alpha channel is always going to be set to 255, so we see it. And then we want to kind of change these other colors. So let's just see what's happening here. We're not going to check it returns 0 on success. We're not going to check the error on this one. So I'm just going to grab this function name here. I'm just going to copy it, and let's go into our main game loop here, where we're checking the keys that are pressed. And we've already checked for the escape key, and then we have the default. So let's add in another key here. We'll say this is case and SDL. I'm just going to pick scan code, and then we're going to change it to space. So we have a space key. And I'm going to put it the break in because I don't want to forget that. Okay, so what we want to do is call our function. That's going to change the render color. I'm just going to tab this in. And remember, we're taking in we need the render, and then we need the RGB and the alpha. So the render is this. Oops. This render, but we got to use the get to get the pointer out of it because we're calling a C function. And then we have this 3 RGB colors, and then we have the alpha. So let's just make an interesting color. Well, we can do white. So white would be, if we put 000, we'd have black, but we already have black, so we wouldn't really see a difference. So let's do white, 255, 255, 255. And for alpha channel, it's always going to be 255. Otherwise, it's transparent or some version of transparency, and that's not what we're looking for. So that should change the render when we press the space bar. Okay, so let's just try that and see how that works. Okay, I'm going to press the space bar. and we have white. Now, if I keep pressing it, nothing happens because it's already set to white. Okay, let's try one more color real quick before we move on. Let's try a nice dark green. So this is a G, this is green, so I'm going to do 64, which is going to be 1/4 of the way up into the green channel, and the other two off. So we should have a darker green color. Oops, I did not compile it again. Sorry about that. Okay, now we press space, and yeah, we have this darker color green. Okay, so what we really want to do is populate this with random numbers. Now, I could pull this function out and give it its own function, and instead of calling the function directly here, but because this is a demo and it's only a single function call here, I'm just going to do it this way. But you could pull the logic of this out into another member function and then call it in here. But since this is just a single function call, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, let's talk about random numbers. So I'm not any kind of expert on random numbers in C++, but we have a couple things going on here. We have the, I believe it's called Mersenne twister, and this is kind of the random number generator that is the most common used. This gives us pseudo-random numbers, or not, cryptographically secure, but for games, we don't care. We don't need that. We just need something that looks like a random number and is quick. So this is gonna give us our pseudo-random number, and it's gonna be decently, of a decent speed. Okay. So there is another way to get a random number, and we can use this. We could use this random device, and this will give us a random number, it's what they're calling a true random number. I don't know if I believe the true part, but it's not considered a pseudo-random number, so it's the much better version. However, this is a much slower operation. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this random device, that is the true random number generator, to seed our pseudo-random number generator. We're going to use this guy one time to give this the initial seed value of this pseudo-random number generator that's quick, and then we're going to use that moving forward. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, this random number generator, imagine this is a, let's just say we're using pi. It's not doing that, but let's say we're using pi to give us random numbers, and pi doesn't repeat itself. So if we just use pi to get our random numbers, and we'll just say, okay, well, we'll take the first number, and that's 3, and we'll take the second number, and that's 1, and then we start a game again, and we'll take the first number of that random number generator, and it's 3, and then we'll take the second one, it's 1. So even though it's given us random number generator, it's given us pseudo-random numbers, we're always starting at the same spot. So we're always starting at 3. So we can predict exactly what color or what action would happen because we're always starting in the same place. What's much better with, like if we're using pi, is if we started somewhere like, say, 100 digits into pi, we started there. And then the next time we started our game, we started 25 digits into pi. And then the next time we started it, we started 1,000 digits in. And that's a seed. That's where we're starting from, our seed point. So this Mersenne twister gives us our pseudo-random numbers, but we don't want to always start at the same spot. We need to seed it. We need to tell it to start from a different position each time that we do this. So the way we're going to seed it is we're going to seed this pseudo-random number generator one time with this random device, which is a better random number generator, but we're only going to use it one time because it's slower. And we're not doing cryptographics, we're just doing a game. We just need something that is good enough, and the Mersenne twister is good at way past good enough for us to use. The other thing we're going to be using is this uniform int distribution. We're just going to use this to make sure that our random number is within a specific range and is distributed evenly. So we're going to be using these 3 to make our random numbers. Specifically, we're going to be using these first 2, the Mersenne twister and the uniform distribution, but we're going to use the random device one time just to seed the twister. Okay. Like again, I'm not any kind of expert in this stuff, so I hope that's just enough information to be able to get pseudo-random numbers for games, to move things around, to give random actions in your game. This should be well good enough for all of that. We're going to be adding a couple new members to our class. Okay, so up here in our class, in our private, we already have this under SDL event. We're going to add our Mersenne twister variable, and I'm just going to call it gen. So this to do these random number generators, we need to include random here. These are standard library, but we still need to include random. Okay, so we've included random up here. Now down here, we'll do std, and we'll say it is the MT 19937. This is our Mersenne twister, and I'm just going to call this gen. That's like my number generator. And I'm going to call the uniform int distribution, I'm going to call that rand color, because that's the end result. I want a random number that is my color, so I'm going to call it that. So that is std, and this is there it is, uniform. I got nice autocomplete on that. Uniform int distribution, and I'm going to give it a type in here. I'm going to use that uint8. Okay, so that's going to tell me what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an unsigned 8-bit, and I'm going to call this rand color. Okay, so now in the initializer, I'm going to initialize these, but I don't want to seed it right away, because I don't want to deal with the fact that this constructor, if it fails, it probably won't fail, but I just don't want to do it here. So I'm going to seed it down in game initialize. So I'm just going to, I originally had it just initialized right here with the seed number, but I just don't like that, because I don't understand if the game constructor fails, if it's going to nicely shut down. So I need to instance it, but I'm not going to seed it. So I'm going to say gen, and I'm just going to leave it blank. Again, this is initially I would be initializing the seed number here, but I just don't like this if it fails here, so I'm going to do it down here. Let's see here. We have that, and we also need the random color. So the random color needs to be initialized to its range, and it's inclusive. So I'm going to have two numbers. I'm going to have 0 to 255. So that's that uniform int distribution. This one here. And this is going to be 0 and then 255. And this is inclusive to both sides, so we should get 0s and 255s. Okay, so that's the initializing these two. But again, we didn't seed the generator yet. Our Mersenne twister. We didn't seed it. So we're going to do it down here. So I'm going to say this gen, dot seed. And then in here, I'm going to seed this by basically instancing a, making an instance of where is it? Random device. I'm going to instance random device. So I'm going to have an object of random device, and then I'm going to call that object directly to get a random number out of it. So I don't want to store it anywhere. I just need it to seed. So I'm going to basically get an instance of it and then call that instance immediately just to get my number to seed. So it's going to look like this. It's going to be std. And we could hold this as a variable somewhere, but I'm only using it one time, so I'm not going to do that. And so this is going to give us our instance, and then this is going to call that instance. So we got two sets of parentheses here. This says give us the object, and now we're going to call the object, which is going to be the method on it that gives us our actual number. Okay, so this hopefully will give us this will seed our gen, so we can use it to the twister engine to make random numbers. So I just kind of want to compile this and make sure I haven't made any errors of yet. So I have random here. I have the gen is the Mersenne twister, and random color is the uniform distribution. Okay, I just want to compile this just to make sure I haven't made any mistakes. Okay, and I have made a mistake. Where is it? It's down here. Okay. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so now we should have the workings in place to generate a random number. So how can we do this? Well, these are both objects. These two are both objects of a class, right? But we can call them directly. So this one will give us a random number, and this one will make sure that the random number is constrained to 0 to 255 and distributed among them. So basically, we're going to call this guy and put this guy in it, pass the generator into this thing. So the generator makes a number, and this guy makes it uniform. And we're just going to do that in line with this function right here. So if we have this green, we could say, hey, let's get random shades of green, right? So I can say, I have rand color gen. Yeah. Okay, let's see if we get random shades of green. I'm pressing spacebar over and over again, and it looks like that's working. We're making a random color for the green channel, but let's just do that for all the channels. And that's the red channel, and here's the blue channel. And I'm going to save that. Hopefully it's going to move the code around a bit. Yeah, there we go. So this should now give us completely random colors, whether, for all the channels. So we should be just getting random colors, and some of them might be dark or light, everything else. So we got that. That was kind of an orange yellow and a green, a purple. Let's make sure we're not getting the same colors in the beginning. That's pink. That's a purple. Yeah, we're not starting out at the same place each time. So every time I press the space, it gives us a new renderer color. Okay, so I'm just going to walk through what we have. So we're using this, like I said, we're using three different things here. We're using the Mersenne twister to get our pseudo-random numbers, and we're seeding it with random device that gives us a better random number, but is a slower operation. So we're just using it one time to seed our faster one that's given us our pseudo-random numbers. And then we are using this uniform in distribution to make sure that it's within the range that we want, which is a unsigned 1 byte, and also distributed evenly. So we're using those three, and two of them we're holding on to as objects, and one of them is just instanced and used right away. So we need to include random, and then we are adding in the Mersenne twister, the 19937, and we're just calling it gen. And we have this uniform int distribution that is a uint8, and that we're calling random color. we're initializing the gen to we're just calling the initializer with nothing. And the random color is 0 to 255. But in the initializer function, we are seeding the gen with the random device. Now you could do this right here. You could pull this code right here out. You could put it right here in the initializer, in the constructor initializer list. I just didn't want to do that. I don't like to put stuff in here that can fail. And I'm not even checking if it fails here, so you can do it either way. I do have it up here in my notes, but I feel like it's better down here. But I'm not even checking if it's failing down here either, so it's really up to you. But I'm seeding it down here. If you do it up here, you don't need to call seed. You just grab this right here and put it straight into there. But since it's already initialized here, we're calling the seed on it. And I'm just basically, this first parentheses is just creating an instance of random device, and the second parentheses is calling that object, which does return a random number. That's the high quality random number, and we're just using that to seed. And then down here, we are calling it, so this is our, remember, this is our distribution, our uniform int distribution that is supposed to be 0 to 255. And we're passing in that, so this is an object that we're calling, and we're passing in the object gen. We're passing in gen, and this is giving us a random number, and this is making sure it's constrained to the 0 to 255 and it's distributed. But we are only doing this on the red, green, and blue channel. We are not doing this on the alpha channel. The alpha channel, we're leaving it so it stays opaque. There's no transparency happening. And this is being drawn. Well, we're not drawing it here, but it would be right here with the render clear. That's where this color comes into play. So that's the color here, and then the background's being drawn on top of it. And because the background has transparency, we're seeing this color come through. Okay, so I think that is going to do everything for this video. And again, thanks for watching. I hope that explained everything. If not, just ask some questions that are in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Bye.